Good day, everyone. Welcome to another wonderful episode on the parable of the sower. I'm glad to be on your screen again. As you all know, I'm the sower, and I'm glad to be with you again on this episode. Today, we want to look at something quite different. We want to look at something very, very edifying. And guess what? We are going back to the original source. We want to look into the Holy Bible, from where we got the insight on the parable of the sower. Okay, so we are going to be drawing our lesson from the Holy Bible, like I said, and we are going to draw it from Matthew chapter 13, from verse 3 through to verse 8. This was Jesus in one of his teachings. He taught about the sower who went out to sow, and he said on the first one he sowed and it fell on the wayside, by the wayside. It didn't yield much fruit because the birds of the air, they came and they took it. Said the next one he sowed on stony ground. Didn't yield much fruit because there was no depth. And then the sun came, the harshness of the sun and all of that made the seed to die off. The next one sowed among thorns. And because of the thorns, the plants couldn't strive well and it didn't survive. But the last, which is the fourth one, sowed on a good soil, on a fertile soil. And he said some yielded 40 and 30 fold, some 60 fold, and some 100 fold. Now I want to do a brief analogy on that as regarding to farmers. So this teaching is basically for newbie in the farming industry. Those that just want to go into farming, you'll be motivated, you've heard a lot of things and you're aspiring to become a farmer. So this particular video is for you. Make sure you don't skip. Now let's take from the first one that fell by the wayside. Now first of all, I want to encourage you as a new farmer, you should be mindful on where you are using as your land for cultivation. You don't just say, oh, the sower motivated me, oh, I got motivated, oh, this, that, and you just find somewhere and you begin to plant your crops. No, you should look for a well prepared land. I would even encourage that you should use a place where food don't even go on a regular basis. Because if you are planting on a place where food go on a regular basis, your crops are likely not to survive. Because as you plant, people are stepping on it, they are matching it, and the tendency of survival is very, very low. So before you plant as a newbie, don't say because, oh, I want to go into farming, you just go to any land. No, the land must be in a proper location, in a proper site, so that you can get maximum fruit. All right, you don't just sow anywhere you see. So you don't just sow anywhere you see. You don't just sow probably in front of your gate because there is a small land in front of your gate you want to sow there. No, it's better. You see many people tell you at your backyard, because they know that in the backyard a lot of times people hardly go there to do any reasonable thing. It's a kind of reserved area. So your backyard is good if you are starting new. If you are getting a land, you must create a way, a way for foot passage, a kind of pathway. You don't sow everywhere. You don't, probably you have 2 plots of land. You don't sow everywhere on the 2 plots. You should have a pathway, because if you sow on the place where people pass, and foot tread upon on a regular basis, whatsoever seed you are planting there would not survive. Now, about those that fell on the stony ground, you must be mindful on where you plant. Many a times you go into agriculture without proper preparation. That's why many a times we encourage that before you plant, especially in a virgin land or wheresoever, you do your land preparation like land fallowing. You break the topsoil so that the land will become soft. Because if you got so many grounds due to climatic change or the state of the land in those areas, they are strong and your seed might not survive in them when you go to plant. Some of them you can even experience it. Maybe you just take your trowel or your hole, your small hole, you try to dig. Sometimes you see that the land is very hard. And if you put seed on land like that, depending on the crop, seed will not survive there most of the time. So before you sow on any place, you should do proper land preparation. Alright, you should do your preparation very well. break the fallow ground, do your fallowing, till the ground, till it. If, depending on how hard it is, you might till it once, you might till it twice, depending. Till the ground properly, so whatsoever you plant there can survive, should have high possibilities of survival. So now the third one, those that fell among thorns. Thorns in our case are referred to as weed. Sometimes many of you, before you go into planting, you don't do your weeding properly. After you've cleared the land and you till it in preparation for planting, sometimes you make sure that you take away any trace of weed that you can see. Sometimes you might just be scrolling and strolling on your farm and you see something that is not wanted there and you don't need it. You pull it out. You don't say, oh, maybe let's wait till we are doing the bulk weeding and we'll take it out. No, that is your responsibility as a farmer, because if you allow those things, they are there to kill your crop. Weed is one of the greatest enemy of any farmer. Do you understand me? So my encouragement to you is that before you plant, you should make sure you take away the thorns, take away weeding. You take away the weed rather. You take away the weed from your farm, no matter how little it is. So after you get the land, probably the land is a bushy area, you clear it and you do your tilling. You can come and you review the land. If there is need for a second touch of weeding, you take it away. But if there is no need, you go on with your planting, and depending on the crop you are planting, you come again probably in weeks or in few months to check the state of the land. If you find what you are not comfortable with, you take it out immediately. And finally, those that fell on the good soil. And that is the heart desire, the heartbeat of every farmer. You want your seed to fall on the good soil. But it is your responsibility. Yes, the instance that Jesus gave in the Holy Bible, I know some of our hearers might not be Christian by religion, but you can do your research. You can get the Bible online in Matthew chapter 13 from verse 3 to 8. So the instance that Jesus gave in the fourth example, he said some of them fell on the good ground, on good soil. And that was the sower's responsibility. That was the planter's responsibility to ensure that his seed get into good soil. How do you ensure that your seed gets into good soil? Before you go into planting, probably small scale or big scale, or even if it's sack bag farming, make sure that the medium of your farming, many of us have gone into soilless now, all thanks to Farmer Samson and some others who are doing soilless, and I know that they do their calculations very well before they do their planting. But those of us that are still making use of soil or whatsoever means, so and the land there represents a lot of things. Also, it is a key responsibility and it is of great importance that you check your soil very well. Soil is just one of the many mediums for planting. Do you understand me? So, but here we are going to make reference to soil the most. Now, before you plant in any given location, or before you plant wheresoever, before you get your land and all of that, you should ensure that the land is in a good location. You have conquered the wayside farming. You should ensure that the land is in a good location. And when you are doing your farm design or your farm planning, ensure that you create provision for footpaths. You don't just say, oh, it's a land, it's a farmland, anybody can match anywhere. If anybody can match anywhere, then you are ready to go into trouble, because many of your crops, especially those crops that are seed in nature, not the ones like cassava that you have to plant stem. Even cassava itself, if you walk on the ridges carelessly, you can kill the plant. So there should be pathways in your land. You've conquered that aspect. Now sowing on stony ground, you have to conquer that aspect by, remember, we are still talking about the good soil. We are looking at the factors you have to conquer. You have to conquer the aspect of making sure that you till your ground, prepare your ground very well. Yes, it is you that would make that ground a good soil to plant on. You prepare the ground very well. And the aspect of sowing among thorns, you make sure that you do your weeding properly, you do your land clearing properly. You call those that are well experienced to do the land clearing properly for you. So when you have dealt with these three factors, and then you, depending on how fertile the ground is, If need be, you can add your organic manure to make to add more nutrients to the soil and make it more fertile. And then when you sow, when you manage it properly, it is not, he said that after they are sowed, they reaped some 30-fold, some 60-fold, some 100-fold. Now, those were levels of management. The person that reaps 30 is different from the person that reaps 60 and different from the person that reaps 100. And all of these were because of different management tactics. When you plant, you don't just say, oh, you leave it there and you go. Do you water it? Do you check if there is need for weeding? Do you check if there is need for taking away pests in the land? Do you in the plants rather? Do you check if your land or your plants have been invaded by diseases? Do you check your irrigations? Do you check if there are things that are not going well with the plant? It is your management techniques that would guarantee if you will fall into the category of 30-fold or 60-fold or 100-fold. So my encouragement for you is that after you pass the 3 first steps that I gave of making sure your land is in a good location, making sure you till your ground properly, making sure you weed your land properly, and adding more nutrients to the land also, you should give attention to management of your farm. The level of management and attention you give to your farm will determine the output afterwards. Are you understanding me? It will go a long way to determine the output. So don't say, oh, I'm a farmer and I'm doing this other business. I go to the farm whenever I like. You might be going whenever you like, but please have someone that is always available to cross-check the farm for you. If you put all of this in play, I want to assure you that you will not regret coming into agriculture. There are times, it is true that there are times that all these factors should be put in place, but yet you are not getting the needed output and all of that. These are some steps and setbacks we face in business, and it's there in all the systems. Do you understand me? Setbacks they are there in every system you find yourself in the world. Do you understand me? It is there in all the systems. But when you put all of this in place, then if there is setback, then you know that, oh, there's setback, but I've done my homework. You try again another time. That doesn't mean you should give it. Alright? So that is my encouragement for you, all of our newbies in farming or those that are aspiring to go into farming. So I hope to see you in our next episode. I believe this episode went a long way to educate you and to give you more insight into the system. So till we come your way again, have a wonderful weekend.